Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Tuesday, 11th of June. So, looking at the markets, and before I do so, let's just have a look at the news due out this morning. We've got average earnings index coming out for the UK at 9:30. Quite significant because inflation may be running slightly ahead of the curve, and if this was to be higher or lower, it may create some volatility in the markets. Aside of that, we've got inflation in the afternoon, PPI inflation in the afternoon with the US. That's not quite so core there, so likely to move things, but to watch out for it anyway. And then we've got business confidence there we've had, so we'll have a look at what effect that's had on the markets in a moment. But the euro for now then, well, technically it's inside day, looking down the time frames, and well, higher lows, higher highs have been the case through this market. We do have the weekly pivot sitting below us at the moment, which could still be a draw. I'm looking across this sort of slight rising price action that we saw yesterday through the bank holiday Monday. What to today? Well, I'm really looking at a break of that 60-minute 50 for maybe a move down towards that weekly pivot if it does that. It faked out a couple of times yesterday. I wasn't really looking to trade it yesterday with no market. I'd say no market, but a lighter market for sure. I need to just see what happens this morning. If it just pokes up there, there's probably little I can do. There's not a lot in the way of points to the upside. Well, I suppose it's almost the same actually to the absolute highs. If it was to push up to the highs there, we'll see what happens there. But for now, preference is a break of that 50 down to the downside there, but it is against that sort of near-term trend. The pound, on the other hand, goodness, the pound, well, performed quite well yesterday for us. Selling off there, it's already started selling off again at the moment. It's put a bearish pivot swing in there. Break of yesterday's lows would suggest it will probably go even further down. It's looking like it's going to be rolling over. It's come and tested the underside on the 4-hourly on the weekly pivot there, undertested that underside there. May just roll back down towards the weekly S1, maybe even more back to the prior lows, as I said, in the future. Looking at it from this point, well, it's just finding support back into its 60-minute 200. I'd be waiting to see if we get a retrace. 8 o'clock pivot's higher than where price is at the moment, so we'll just wait to see what reaction we get to that. We also has, as I say, got news out at 9:30. If that became out better than the forecast, could see the pound rallying. But really, I think at the moment the pound to me is my favourite selling tool. On the weaker pairings, if you watch the big picture outlook, you'll understand why. Dollar yen. Let's come up to the bigger picture here first, and well, it's just consolidating where it is at the moment. Well, looks like perhaps it might want to get up to that monthly pivot, or just the daily 21s at the moment. It's slow and consolidated, but the general picture here is higher highs. It's well, maybe marginally higher lows there as well, although a bit of a blip in between. We do still have the weekly pivot and a gap below us, and I guess anyone looking for strength in these markets well, would look for that opportunity. Personally, I think if it was going to start breaking down, maybe look at below the 50 again and see if that this time it actually comes down there and gets it. But otherwise, it's looking a little bit soft, but fundamentally strong. So, or stronger. Or potentially stronger at least. Aussie dollar. Well, did the markets like the news overnight? Didn't make a lot of difference. As you can see, it's barely any price action today, but yesterday was a solid sell-off day there again. Sort of pivot swing type price action going on. Not quite so clear just rolling over at the moment. Lower highs, lower lows coming through in this current price action. It has got the daily pivot above. Maybe if it breaks above if you're looking for something on the bullish side and it starts, you see these markets start moving, it may be a bit behind the curve, and there's an element of weakness here which I don't really like. But it could break through that 21 and pull towards the daily pivot. Probably the better trade would be to wait to see what it does. If it can get up to the 34 or 50, and that combination there, maybe that would be sufficient to sell into. Canadian dollar. Well, yesterday, it gapped down, closed the gap, and then it's been hanging around here. To me, it's one of the stronger currencies at the moment, if not, certainly strongest after the US dollar at the moment, and has some potential. Of course, got OPEC meetings this week, which could affect it later in the week, but for now, it's looking like it wants to. Well, it's consolidated here, not really managed to make any uproads. If you look at the way the candles have just been almost side by side, which could suggest we could see a rollover. Further rollover of this movement. I'm just looking, it's really pinched. It's very little price action yesterday. It doesn't make it easy to really trade. Maybe it'll push on through back to the lows there at 32, 39. Not one I'd really want to be trading, looking at it from there. So that's Canadian dollar, and finally finishing off with the S&Ps here. So yesterday it was a game of two halves really. It pushed up right through and into the beginning of the session. Come, I think about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 6 o'clock there, it rolled back a little bit, but closed pretty much where it opened. Where to today, where it's had a little pitch up at the moment, still got factors below that could chase down, and I'm sort of trying to work out, is there any sort of resistance area where there's this monthly R1 where it's sitting into, but there's not a lot of other resistance, and maybe we're going to see this push back up towards the highs. Certainly when you look at it on this 60-minute chart, it looks quite encouraging. Let's just squeeze this down a bit and have a look at there was yesterday's trading, as I said, up to about a 4 o'clock candle, the 5 o'clock candle. It rolled over, gave back most of the gains and closed pretty much near the opening. I'm looking, it doesn't look the strongest of markets, and there's factors that may just see it continue to push through today, but at this stage maybe not the strongest, but the bigger picture here looks stronger, and certainly we've got quite a nice hourly trend there, but there's periods of flatness. I do wonder if it's going to, as I say, just roll back a little bit, but 4 hourly higher lows, higher highs. Well, am I even thinking about shorting it? And that's a good question actually. Maybe it's a case of wanting a bit of a retrace to buy into. Okay, that's pretty much it for today. Have a great one. Bye for now.